guys, we are back at it again with the Shark Week special on the Random Onion. And what are we reviewing today, Adam?
Today we're reviewing possibly the finest art that has ever been made and put to film, Deep Blue Sea.
Yes.
From 1999.
And you said earlier that when we started this episode, you wanted to sing a little song for our audience by the great LL Cool J.
Yes. It's an amazing song of our time.
So beautiful.
Deepest, bluest, my head is like a shark's fin. Deepest, bluest, my head is like a shark's fin. Just repeat that about 500 times.
Yes. If you do that in a Walmart, some fat lady will show you her tits. Guaranteed. All right. So today, folks, we are going to be reviewing Deep Blue Sea, which came out in, 1996 or 99?
I think 99.
99, yes. And why don't you tell us who stars in this movie? You guys are going to like the cast in this, I have a feeling.
Mm-hmm. All right, the cast in this movie stars Thomas Jane as Carter Blake, Saffron Burrows as Dr. Susan McAllister, LL Cool J as Sherman Preacher Dudley.
The coolest character in the movie, hands down. Besides the bird.
Jacqueline McKenzie as Janice Jane Higgins.
Her name just sounds like she's going to die.
Yes. Michael Rapaport as Tom Scoggins.
Yes, he's the trustworthy one, right?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you who, with the exception of LL Cool J, I couldn't tell you who any of these characters are.
I can tell you who most of them are, just by their names.
Stellan Skarsgård as Jim Whitlock, Dr. Jim Whitlock.
Spoiler alert, he loses an arm.
Adia Turatuo. See, this is why I'm bad at reading the names. I'm terrible at it. I can't read shit. I never learned to read.
I'm illiterate.
As Brenda Kearns. And then the most amazing Samuel L. Jackson as Russell Franklin.
Good old Sammy Jackson.
He's so young in this movie.
I know. But he looks old at the same time.
Yes, because he even has a line in this movie where he's like, I'm getting too old for this. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, this movie came out 24 years ago. And he was already saying he was getting too old for this.
Yeah. I mean, I love this movie. I mean, I grew up with this movie. This and Jaws were the first two shark movies I ever watched, and I absolutely adored them. I've seen this movie probably over 1,000 times, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Deep Blue Sea.
So the very first time I ever watched this movie, my parents were actually watching it, and I wasn't allowed to because I was too young. So they were trying to not let me watch the movie, but I happened to walk into the room at the moment that Samuel L. Jackson dies, and I fell in love with the movie at that point.
It's so funny though, because I think the Sci-Fi Channel did a countdown like a few years back of what was like the most surprising death in cinema history, and that was number one.
I can see that.
Yeah, because he's in the middle of like giving this big speech, and he's like, "We're gonna find a way to get out of here. Now, first, we're gonna seal off this pool," and then a shark just comes up and eats him. A very poorly CGI'd shark, but a shark nonetheless.
Yes, it was incredibly poor CGI.
But I mean, it is funny because like one of the things I love about this movie is in all these shark movies, like you see like megalodons, which they're basically in the movies, they're bigger great whites in the movies. Great whites. It's always like megalodons are great whites, and most of the time it's great whites. Even with like the 3-4-headed shark attack, whatever those movies are. Those are great whites with multiple heads.
Yeah, great white is the most popular.
Yeah, it's mostly. Yeah, they use mako sharks in this movie.
Yes,
I love that they do that.
Yes, mako sharks are freaky. Have you ever actually seen real mako sharks?
They're
like in
fast.
Shark Week? They're They're the fastest shark. They're
Yeah.
the fastest, and their teeth are jagged as fuck.
Yeah, and they look freaky as fuck too.
Yeah. Now, even freakier is I wish they it would be interesting if they'd use goblin sharks.
Oh my
Have you ever
gosh!
seen a goblin shark?
I've seen a goblin shark. Yes. But
that one would have made more sense because their jaws jump out, so it would have been fun if they caught Samuel L. Jackson with that.
I love and Samuel Jackson's even made fun of it, and it's like there's some skit he did where he's like, "You ever seen Deep Blue Sea? They ate me." he very clearly had fun with this, and
Yeah.
it seems like he has fun with everything. He's one of my favorite actors in Hollywood,
Yeah.
honestly. Another character I want to point out in this before we get started with the summary is Thomas Jane as Carter Blake. He's like supposed to be like the big hero. He doesn't kill a single shark in this movie.
No, it's
At
true.
all.
He doesn't.
And they treat him like he's the big hero of the movie.
He is the equivalent of what's his face from the Meg. Of the main character from the Meg.
Except every time he runs around a corner, he falls down. I've
I
never
noticed
seen
that.
a dude fall down so many times in a movie.
That was one of the first things I said when watching it. Was like, what the fuck? This guy keeps falling down.
It's like watching Hayden Christensen in the Attack of the Clones bloopers. He's just falling down to make Natalie Portman laugh.
We'll start with the plot of this movie. In a remote underwater facility, Dr. Susan McAllister and Jim Whitlock are conducting research on mako sharks.
That isn't how the movie starts, though.
Well, that's the plot.
Yeah, that's what the plot says. But the movie actually opens up, and I'm surprised you didn't bring this, or you did bring this up.
I did.
We just had a conversation about it.
Well, I was going to get to that after the initial plot reading.
Yeah. Titties.
Yeah, so this movie does open up on. This being said, I watched this movie a day after I watched Jaws, and it's very similar opening. Whereas you got teenagers on a boat in the middle of the ocean.
They're about to have a foursome.
And the shark just starts attacking the boat, like trying to bash its way through the floor.
The shark wanted to join.
It's a good thing the shark never actually breached. You don't want to see its 4-foot-long dick.
Yeah. Well, all the sharks in this movie are female.
But yeah, anyways, as they're running away from it, and I'm pretty sure that's because if a lot of these older movies that they upgrade to HD, when they made the movie and they cut it, they make it so it's SD originally. So you probably would have never noticed it. I absolutely noticed areola on one of the girls. And it's in every scene she's in past the point the shark starts attacking. She has areola exposed.
We're going to call her Areola for the duration of this film.
Yes.
Even though she's not in any of it.
Yeah, they don't die because as the shark is breaching through this boat, the shark gets hit by a tranquilizer.
Well, he gets hit by a few harpoons. I think one of the girls gets tossed out of the boat, and they're trying to get back up, and the shark is coming after. And Carter Blake shows up. He's the man that falls everywhere.
Yeah. I think he didn't fall here because he did save the areola girl.
Yeah. He liked them titties too.
They're conducting research on mako sharks to help in the reactivation of dormant human brain cells, like those found in Alzheimer's disease patients. After one of the sharks escapes the facility and attempts to attack the boat of young adults, including Areola Girl, financial backers send corporate executive Russell Franklin to investigate the facility.
That's Sam Jackson.
Yes. The main character of this movie is a woman, basically. And she's pretty well written. She has a very strict idea of what she's trying to do.
You want to know something really interesting?
Mm-hmm.
She's not very likable.
No.
And I know she's not very likable because I've done a lot of research on this movie. She actually lived through the original cuts of this movie. And at the pre-screening, they had people write down suggestions as to what can make this movie better. And one of the top suggestions was kill the bitch.
I guess she has a very it's a type of personality that a lot of female characters are written with today. Yes. But this movie,
it makes
sense.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing that a lot of modern female characters people who write the modern female characters don't understand is if you just make a character a bossy, no nonsense bitch, it doesn't make her endearing in any way. There's
It
got to
doesn't
be
make her likable.
something to give her a reason to it. In this movie, she even has this whole scene where she talks about how she had to explain to her father, who had Alzheimer's, every time that he forgot that his wife was dead and had to watch him relive it every time.
Yeah, and she uses the quote, he had to take it like a train wreck.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's a very interesting thing, too, because, like you said, she's a very well-written character. She's a very well-rounded character because it blends that kind of like tragic past with, she's a total narcissist as well.
Yeah.
And it's well done. For a monster movie in the 90s, a lot of the characters in this are really well done.
Yes. They are well done, which is surprising.
Yeah. Like, even Sam Jackson's character, you get that kind of like his history with this avalanche that he survived. Carter Blake, who's supposed to be like the big hero guy, that dude is out on parole.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot that went into these characters, and it kind of shows it, but I think it shows the best with the main girl.
Yeah. So after this attack, basically the financial backers don't believe that they're actually going to get anything out of this research facility, so they threaten to cut the funding, and she pushes them to give her a little bit more time, and they end up taking the trip out to, what the hell is it called? It had a weird ass
Aquatica.
name. Aquatica.
I'm not even reading a summary, guys. I've just seen this movie so many times.
Yes, it's Aquatica. I remember seeing this name of it, and I was like, did they really call it that?
Yeah. So what Aquatica is, it's like an old submarine pen that they converted into like a big science facility, I guess, research facility.
Yeah, it's a big. It's got like 3 layers of stuff basically.
Yeah. I would love to see a zombie movie done in one of those. I think that would be awesome. Yeah. I mean, you kind of get that with the first Resident Evil movie, but I would love to see a zombie movie in a facility like that.
Yeah.
Which you might get something similar if you read my comic. Just saying, guys. Anyways.
Nudge, nudge, hint, hint, plug, plug.
Do it. Or I will send Creamy Sheev to your bedroom tonight.
What kicks this movie off is the shark that attacked Areola Girl in the beginning of the movie has escaped from this research facility, and they catch it, they bring it back in, and then they as our main girl and Samuel L. Jackson is showing up, it's described that they have 3 main sharks, 2 first generation and 1 second generation. The second generation is the big one.
Yes.
And they have other sharks that are just normie sharks. They're normie makeup sharks.
They have the tiger shark who's got a license plate stuck in its mouth. And you get this really interesting scene with Thomas Jane where he's diving into the tiger shark's enclosure and he's trying to remove the license plate from the shark's mouth.
Yes. I remember watching that thinking, why the fuck didn't he do that when the shark was out of the water? He could have just reached over and grabbed it. Because they had...
Well, it's funny because like the same trick he does to that shark, actually, like he does it later on in the movie.
That's why he does it that way, so he can show that he's capable of doing.
Yeah, and they describe him in this movie as the shark wrangler. Yeah. That is an awesome job title.
Yes, I am the shark wrangler. You have a shark, I will wrangle it.
That sounds really sensual.
The next part of the movie is a tour of this facility with Samuel L. Jackson, since he's the one that's not been in this facility before. So we have to show the audience through Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, he is our POV character in these scenes. I love it whenever they're talking about Stellan Skarsgård's character, and that girl's talking about him like, oh yeah, he's such a brilliant scientist, and Samuel Jackson's like, how brilliant can he be? He's pissing into the wind, and it shows him like peeing off this tower.
Yeah. This is very true. He just pissed on his own shoes, basically. We are on a time limit here that we need to get this medicine that's going to help. Otherwise, they're going to pull the funding. So we have to catch the big shark. We have to catch the second generation big shark and take it into the facility. And this is our hero's job. Is he manages to get the shark tranquilized. They bring it inside, and they do this. This is where like So when the sharks are puppets, it's incredibly obvious because when the CG sharks show up, it just everything shifts.
Yeah,
it just doesn't look right.
But the puppets look fantastic.
Yes, the puppets look really freaking good. Except for the teeth. A couple of points in the teeth, you can tell it looks like they're made of. They almost look like they're made of felt.
Yeah, and that's something I noticed in Jaws as well.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that movie. We will get to that movie.
We will get to that movie, yes. So she attaches this thing to the brain of our second generation shark, and it looks like I don't know how. I mean, I'm not a doctor, nor am I a marine biologist, but I'm pretty sure stabbing a shark through the head might do something to its health.
I mean, it sure pissed it off.
Because she attaches this thing to its head and then sticks a 3-foot rod into its
it's
brain.
a big old syringe, and she drains a bunch of fluid out, and they use the fluid to fight the Alzheimer's.
Yes, because the basis of why these sharks are so different than normal makos is they have done some kind of sciencey stuff to it to make it bigger and to increase the size of its brains, because the fluid that they need from the brains is not produced in enough quantities in the smaller and the regular size sharks, so they had to make the brains bigger. So it makes the sharks really, really smart. So they get the fluid out, and as they're realizing that the fluid is working, because they have a little vial to show that it's working on the Alzheimer's patient's brain.
As this is happening, we get the best anti-smoking ad I have ever seen in a movie.
Yes, if you smoke, you will get your arm bitten up by a shark.
Yeah, Stellan Skarsgård lights up his cigarette, and he's sitting there squatting next to the shark, and the shark just leans over and bites his fucking arm off.
And he just starts screaming, blood goes everywhere.
Carter wants to kill the shark.
Carter wants to kill the shark immediately.
Which is, an appropriate response.
I would argue it's not an appropriate response.
The
guy got too close to the shark, and the shark is not capable. It's going to flop around. If they just left the shark there, what is it going to do if no one gets close to it?
No, that is true.
Flop around. In the first Resident Evil game, there is a giant shark enclosure that you have to run around in. And in the remake, this is the remake, I'm talking about the remake one. The original 1906 one is nowhere near as cool. But there's a big shark called Neptune that you drain the water, and it's just flop, 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 flop. They can't do shit to you.
I still think he should have shot it, though, with everything that ends up happening later in the movie.
Well, with hindsight being 2020, yes, he should have shot the shark. But in that situation, I don't believe that just running and grabbing a gun to shoot the shark is the correct answer. Because it causes our main science lady to freak out, because she just found that the shark has the stuff that she needs to save the Alzheimer's patients and stuff, and her entire goal. And this guy's immediately going to try and kill it right after they find out. So she justifiably reacts and releases the shark back into the pen.
And then they call the Coast Guard to come and get the dude. And this is where the movie kind of goes off the rails, because there's this big storm going on outside. They're playing this loud-ass music. They get him upstairs. Carter falls down again.
I'm more shocked. I understand that they're calling in someone, but there's a hurricane going on.
Yes.
And so, the scene where the helicopter appears, it is literally flying close enough to the water where it's following a wave.
Right.
It's if that wave overtakes them even slightly, or if they overtake the wave, they're going straight into the water. Fly just a little bit higher, dude. Fly just a little bit higher.
Yeah. And then they go to pick up the doctor, who is, I'm going to call him One Arm for the duration of this film. They go to pick up One Arm, and as they're taking him up, the chopper, the pulley system jams.
I have seen so much media where helicopters suffer some kind of mechanical fault, or something happens to a helicopter and just crashes immediately, to the point where I'm never going to get on a helicopter in my entire life.
That is completely understandable.
Helicopters always fucking crash. Every fucking time.
Yeah. But yeah, no, then the pulley system just breaks, and he just goes straight down into the shark pen.
Yes, there's a scene where the lady that's running the tower That just falls backwards in a ball of fire.
Yeah. And it's funny though because he falls into the shark fins and they're like, pull him up, and then you see the wire just tighten.
Yes.
And it starts moving. And just think about this for a second. You're a shark. You're like, okay, I just bit this motherfucker's arm off. They let me back into the pen. Okay, cool, whatever. I'm just swimming around, minding my own business. There's a big storm outside. The facility's going to end up flooding because of the storm, so I'm just waiting for, ooh, a snag.
There's a thing that just came in. I don't know if the shark understands that it was the same person.
Yeah.
It grabs the person. Anyways, so everyone gets back down to, I think it's on the bottom level, where they swim. They go all the way back down to the bottom level of the facility, like immediately. They don't even question if they should stay at the top level or not.
Yeah.
They just go straight back down to the bottom level, and they're all freaking out. And then Samuel L. Jackson looks out the window, and there's just a little dot coming towards the window, and he's just like, somebody tell me what the fuck that is.
The delivery of that line is fucking perfect, though. Like, well, somebody tell me what that is. And the shark throws the dude at the window.
Yes, it throws the dude at the window. And this is where, like, bad CG also comes in, because it looks like out of a PS1.
Yes, it does.
The cracking glass looks awful.
But, I mean, just imagine being in that situation. That situation, I'd shit my pants.
Yes.
As soon as that water started coming in, like...
They stare at it, like they wonder what's going to happen.
Yeah.
They're just sitting there staring at it, like, that shit happens.
We getting the fuck out. Let's go.
They would turn around and I'd already be halfway to the surface.
And as they're trying to, like, get up the stairs to, like, get out, Carter falls again.
He falls again. He falls under. He somehow manages to miss the stairs completely and falls under the stairs.
How the fuck do you miss the stairs?
And then he's the one. I think he's the one that gets the door open. So
yeah.
Everyone else is worthless. So he manages to get up the stairs, and he gets the door open.
He's supposed to be the main hero, and he does not kill a single shark. And while all of this is going on, the cook is, like, trying to make food, and the bird is cussing him out. He's got this pet bird that is just constantly cursing him.
He calls it Bird, too. It's just its name. It's Bird. So he's got this bird. It's cussing him out. And suddenly, this is... when the explosion happens from the helicopter, he gets thrown back. And so he's now our secondary character to follow, along with our main group.
I like his story arc because he's, like, constantly, like, quoting scripture and stuff like that. And he was like, I appreciate the irony, Lord. Chef cooks in his own oven, but I'm not gonna die today. As he's, like, cutting the fucking oven apart with the hatchet.
I want to get to that scene. When you get to that one, that scene's fucking great.
Shark turns the oven on.
I have a reference when we get to that scene. It happens pretty quick because what he does is he's wandering around the facility and he's drinking a bottle. And he's like, okay, I realize I shouldn't be drinking this. He throws it aside.
Because the facility suddenly shakes.
And eventually he ends up in a hallway that gets flooded, and a shark chases him back into the kitchen. And he tries to climb up on this thing, and the bird shows up after flying off a minute ago. And he's like reaching over to get the bird. He's like, come on, bird, come on. And the shark just fucking chomps on the bird.
I love it too when he's like reaching for the bird. He's finally like, he's losing his patience right before the shark comes. He's like, get your feathery ass. And as he starts cussing at the bird, the shark eats him.
The shark's like, snack. So then hijinks ensue. Eventually, he finds the one place he can hide is in an oven. And, okay, Snakes on a Plane. Have you seen that movie?
Yes, it's been a while, but yes.
There's one scene from that movie that I'm aware of, and that is when someone throws a snake into a microwave and presses a button, and if you freeze it right at that moment, you'll see the microwave just says snake. It has a snake setting.
We need to review that movie. That is...
It made me think of that scene because the shark is attacking the oven and the oven just goes ding and kicks off. It's like it said, hello, Cool J.
And it's funny too because he's sitting there for a second and he's like, he starts sniffing the air. He's like, oh god.
It is a really fucked up situation. You got a shark that's attacking the door, and you're in an oven that's on, but you have an axe. So smash your way through through your ceiling.
And then he gets into the other oven and jumps out of it over the shark.
Yeah.
Swims out of the room while the shark is still trying to get in the oven to get him.
Yeah.
And then lights this lighter up. He's like, "You ate my bird," and throws the lighter into the room.
Yes, and the gas from the oven explodes, and it causes the whole facility. Even our group realizes that there's another explosion from killing this shark.
So we go from 3 sharks to 2.
Yes, we still have the big one to contend with.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember what happens next.
Well, we're with our main characters. I do remember Susan, who's the main girl, starts explaining that they broke the something pact, and they did genetic research on the sharks, and that's why the sharks got bigger and smarter.
Yeah,
and that one girl has one of the best lines of the movie where she's like, "You stupid bitch."
There's a whole ethical thing about genetic research. Like, I've read articles about scientists that have actually managed to take chicken embryos and make them grow teeth.
Yes.
But they never actually let them, live.
And
so
it really kind of fits into like the theme of this movie about like humans trying to play God.
Yeah.
And that is one of the bigger themes about this movie because it does come back to bite them in the ass.
Yes. Although it's still not as good as Jurassic Park.
Yeah, no, that is true. Jurassic Park is one of the best movies of all time, in my opinion.
That movie almost ties with Joker as my all-time favorite movie. It's one of the things that me and my wife first bonded over was how much we loved the first Jurassic Park.
I have a feeling that when we grade Jurassic Park, it's going to be number 1 on our list combined.
It very well could be.
Because it's like, well, I think the Joker's a very good movie. It's not my favorite movie. And I know, like, while Jaws is a very good movie, it's not your favorite movie.
Yeah.
But I think Jurassic Park is definitely in both of our top 5s.
Oh, yeah. I fucking love Jurassic. I'm trying to remember when the last time I feel like I just watched it recently.
That is one I can't wait to grade because that set a new precedent for special effects.
Yes, it did. In fact, you could see it in this movie because they really desperately try to make the sharks look good in CG.
Yes.
But they do not do it well at all.
Yeah, and a lot of it's because they fuck up on the face.
They fuck up on the whole shark.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's the face that gets me. But it sucks too because the puppets are fantastic.
Yeah, the puppets are really good.
I wish they'd just stuck with that for most of the film. But I mean, with some of the scenes, like when Sam Jackson gets eaten, you can't really.
Well,
he gets ripped in half by 2 of them.
Well, yeah, under the water he gets ripped in half by 2 of them.
But maybe you just cut that scene and just have a puppet come up and grab him. I don't know. I feel like that would look awkward.
It could. It's if you watch the scene in Jurassic Park where the T-Rex attacks for the first time and how often it switches back and forth between the actual animatronic that they made versus the CGI, and it's done so fucking well that it just blends.
And what really helps is the lighting in that scene.
The lighting in that scene
because it's dark, it's rainy.
Yeah.
You can't really tell that it's CGI in a lot of the scenes.
Yeah.
And you're right. It works very well. And Steven Spielberg should be very proud of that movie.
Yes, like the scene where the T-Rex comes down through the roof of the Jeep or of the Land Cruiser or whatever. That wasn't supposed to happen. I
know. I've seen the thing too. Yeah,
it was the real animatronic going through the roof, and those were real screams because it wasn't supposed to go through the roof.
But if you guys are watching this video right now and you want us to review the entire Jurassic Park series, let us know in the comments.
Yes,
because we'll get to it eventually. I know that, but if you guys want us to do it sooner, you know what to do.
Yes,
beg.
All right, so we are now approaching the best scene in the entire movie, because the goal of our group is they want to get to the submarine, and they're going to use the submarine to get to the surface.
Yes.
And we get to the submarine, and the submarine is destroyed. They can't use it. So we have a splintered faction where they think they're going to try and swim to the surface, which would be absolutely fucking insane. to try and swim to the surface. Or our other guy, who's like the I want to call him the janitor.
He's like the maintenance man.
Yeah, he's the janitor, and he moves a bunch of stuff. For some reason, this maintenance hatch is just covered in a bunch of crap. So he moves all the
Carter
stuff out of the way.
Clean up his shit.
Yeah.
There's probably why he falls so much. He just trips over stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting that they bring up the science of this area. It's like, okay, so we don't know the condition of the top of the facility. If it's been compromised, if we open this door, then the water's going to come through because the air pressure is what's keeping the water from coming through.
Right.
Same concept of if you take a cup and turn it upside down and push it into water, it creates an air pocket. It's underwater. So they are going back and forth on what they're going to do, and Samuel L. Jackson is sick of everyone's shit and starts giving a full speech about his experience when the avalanche hit his team.
Would you believe that when I was in the 3rd grade, I had his entire speech memorized?
I could believe that.
I had it even down to the
Yes, I can believe that.
I don't have it memorized anymore. I'm not going to try to reenact it.
Here's the thing I do have memorized, not from this movie. Monty Python and the Quest for the Holy Grail. I have a number of scenes from that movie memorized right now.
That'll be one that's fun to review, too.
Yes. That might be number 3 on my top. In my top 5 favorite movies, that would probably be number 3.
He's given the huge speech.
Yes.
Like, we are going to find a way to get out of here. Now, first, we're going to seal off this pool. And then as soon as he says that, the shark eats his ass.
When I was a kid, I fucking loved Jurassic Park when I was a kid. I loved monster movies, like monster animal movies and stuff. So when I walked into the room and I saw that shark eating Samuel L. Jackson, I was like, that is the coolest thing. And I made my parents let me sit there and watch the rest of the movie. And then I think I'll watch it again later because I do have memories of this movie from when I was a kid. That scene comes out of fucking nowhere. Mm-hmm. You do not expect it the first time you watch it, and it's kind of stupid, but it's just
yeah. After you've seen it a few times, it's like okay, but
yeah,
I will give them props. You don't see it coming.
Yes, you definitely do not see it coming. It seems like he's going to be the big hero. This is a proper way to subvert your expectations.
Yes. Rian Johnson, take notes.
Rian Johnson took those notes and he shoved them up his ass. And he said, I could write it better.
One of the interesting movies I want to get into reviewing is The Random Onion. Because that whole movie is a subversion of expectations.
It's the glass onion, not the random onion.
Oh yeah, we are the random onion, aren't we?
That movie is probably why we're called the Random Onion.
I'm gonna tear that movie apart. I do not like that movie.
I hate that movie.
That movie. My gosh.
I also hate Knives Out. I'll tear that movie apart.
I've only seen the ending of Knives Out, and I was like, this is kind of dumb.
It's Rian Johnson has this way of making people think he's smart when he's actually a giant idiot.
Right.
Anywho, we're not talking about Rian Johnson. Samuel L. Jackson's gone, and they're like, well, fuck that. We are not getting in that water. So they're going to take their chances with opening the maintenance hatch.
Yes.
And the moment they open it, it just goes. They get into the maintenance hatch. They all start scrambling to get into it as fast as they can. And as they're doing that, the water's filling up, and they can't close the door fast enough. So water starts getting into the maintenance hatch. They do eventually close it. The two guys have to stay back, and they go under the water. Our janitor and our hero guy.
Yeah, and yeah, they get it closed up, and they start climbing up the ladder, and above them there's this like huge thing of fire because the facility is basically getting taken down. The facility is basically burning down because of the helicopter crash from earlier.
Yes, it looks like they're trying to climb into hellfire.
Yeah,
it's like, and then the shit is just raining down on them as they're doing this.
And as they're doing this, the shark sees the door, and she's like, I bet I can knock this door down, and she does.
Yes. The shark breaks through the door, and then you see this shot from above where the shark is just spinning around in a circle.
Yes.
In this little tiny space that it got into.
Yeah, and as they're going up, the ladder breaks at one point,
Yeah.
and the blonde woman falls into the water.
I have to comment on how she dies.
It's
'Cause
weird,
it is
isn't
awkward
it?
as fuck because I guess it makes sense if you think about the predicament. If the shark goes straight up, but she like literally is spread eagle in the shark's mouth with legs sticking out of either end of its mouth.
I've always noticed that. And it's like, that shark chomped down at one point in time. It was like she's missing a weird area of her body.
That is such an awkward way to be killed.
You think whatever? Maybe she fell like directly into the shark's mouth, and like when you fall,
Probably.
sometimes you flail around a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe the shark caught her like that underwater.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. It's done with the puppet too.
It's done with the puppet, so it's practical. Maybe that was the most comfortable position she could be in.
I clearly not. It was super weird. It was real weird. But I mean, that being said, the scene is well done. I mean, there's a good level of suspense to it, and the practical effects, when they're practical, they look very good.
Yes, I agreed. Very much so.
And yeah, the shark comes out of the water and with her in its mouth, and she grabs onto Carter, and Carter, it doesn't work out so well. And then they're kind of just sitting there waiting, and then they hear the door above them going boom, boom, and they're like, "Oh boy, we're about to die."
Yeah.
And then Preacher shows up.
Yeah, he shows up and he's like, "The fuck y'all doing down there?"
Yeah. My hat is like a shark's fin.
I really feel like they missed a point of having him wear a hat with a shark's fin on it. Dude, it could have been even just a little tiny one. Like, just have him wear a chef's hat and just have a little tiny shark fin. This isn't the big shark. This is the second small shark. Because I think it ends up chasing our main character into some kind of room. She ends up electrocuting it.
Yes, and that was another weird scene to me. I like this scene. I like the suspense and how it's set up, because they're all off doing like what they're doing, whatever, and she decides that she needs to go and get her research out of her room. So she goes into her room and she gets her research, and while she's in her room, the fake shark that she was messing with earlier, practicing on, floats up behind her, and she and pushes it away. And then you see another fin come up, and she's like kind of stares at it for a second, and then it starts like thrashing through the water. And you're like, "Oh, that's a real one."
Oh shit!
It's a good scene. It's just whenever she electrocutes the shark, finally it looks kind of janky.
Well, it almost seems like it's an excuse to get her in her underwear, because she like takes all of her clothes off and stands up.
She didn't need to do that.
I mean, I guess someone in the I can only read it as creepy, where someone when they were shooting was like, if she stands on a metal thing while she's electrocuting the shark, she'll get electrocuted too. So we have to ground her in some way, or isolate her in some way, not ground her. Grounding her will kill her even faster. We have to isolate her from the electricity, and the only thing she has is her clothes. So what if we have her take her clothes off?
This is a very 90s movie.
It indeed is a very 90s movie, and it's kind of creepy. So she stands on her clothes and electrocutes the shark, and that's 2 sharks down. All we have left is Big Bertha.
Yeah, 1 demon fish to go, my lord.
I don't know if this is the one that has the 4-foot schlong or not. I think it does. Maybe it has a 10-foot schlong. Who knows?
It's a big shark. The 3 remaining survivors, because Scoggins gets eaten through this whole section, because he and Carter have to go, I don't know if they have to go turn the power back on or get something running again. But as they do it, and I used to, Scoggins gets like straight up just eaten, and I used to reenact this scene with my French fries at McDonald's. I would pretend I was the shark and little fry with Scoggins and just eat it. And it's crazy though, because like if you pay attention, you can see his bottom half floating out, and his leg is still twitching.
So I think according to this, it looks like Scoggin gets killed right before Susan electrocutes the shark. Honestly, those scenes kind of everything meshes together in my head at this point for these ones.
Right.
I can't tell you which one actually started with.
Because I mean, the real the real bread and butter with this movie, I think, is the third act. Other than like Sam Jackson dying, for me, it's the third act because there's a lot of practical shark in it.
Yes, a lot of practical shark and more subversion of your expectations.
Yeah, because you think Carter's going to be the big hero in all this.
Yes, you think he is. So it's around this point where our main characters realize that this entire time the sharks have been plotting to sink the facility so that they can get through the weaker fence and escape the facility.
Yes.
The entire movie, all they've been trying to escape while also eating our heroes.
I think maybe it's more like they're just kind of taking opportunities to flood the facility than like this whole thing was planned, because I mean you very clearly can't plan the thing falling from the helicopter.
I mean, you can if you're a shark with a big brain.
Maybe.
Especially if it has a grudge against the guy in the stretcher.
Smoking around me.
That shark was subjected to many hours of truth commercials.
Yeah, that shark did not like secondhand smoke.
So we find out that's what's going on. So the big shark is trying to escape.
Yes.
So as soon as they surface, they all go through something and they all end up in the big open area with the shark. And the first thing the shark does is grab LL Cool J and start swimming off with him.
And he uses his cross to stab it in the eye.
Yes, he grabs his cross and stabs it in the eye. And
it's a necklace. He doesn't just randomly grab a cross. He has a cross necklace that he's been screwing with the entire movie.
He's been very religious throughout the entire movie.
I love
it makes sense he have a cross.
I love the prayer that he says right before they start flooding that thing so they can go up. And he's like, what does he say? Crap, I don't remember. He's like, no, walk to the valley of the shadow of death, because there's these 3 big fucking sharks, or some shit like that. Because I got a big old stick.
I honestly don't remember.
It's funny. I remember just laughing my butt off the last time I watched it when he was saying that prayer.
So, Preacher is in the shark's mouth. He manages to get himself free. And the shark, I think, is deciding it has an escape route. So it's like, I'm going to get out through there. And then our lead woman and our hero guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember if they work together or if they each come up with this plan on their own.
They start out working together. So what happens is he's like, they're talking. It's like, she's like, we have to kill her. And he's like, that's the smartest thing you've said all night. Yeah. And so he comes up with this plan, and and they tested this on Mythbusters, and it didn't work.
Yeah. Well, they also tested the thing with Jaws and Mythbusters, and that didn't work either.
Yeah. So he uses a flare, like a couple flares, to create like a couple sticks of dynamite, or what he says is the equivalent to 2 sticks of dynamite.
Yeah.
And what they're going to do is they're going to harpoon the shark and attach the other end of the harpoon to a battery, and that's supposed to make detonate the dynamite and blow it up.
Yeah. So
Carter is like trying to go get a shot at the shark, but the shark is like off on the fence, and he's like, I can't get a shot. She's too far away. And Susan, who's the girl, is like, I know how to get her. And he's like, what? He can't hear her. And she's like, live bait. And she cuts her hand open with a really rusty piece of metal.
Yes.
And jumps into the water. And the shark is like, oh.
The shark has an absolute grudge against her. I mean, she did stick a fucking 4-foot broad through its brain earlier.
And so the shark turns around and decides, like, I'm going to go eat this bitch. And so the shark goes, and there's this, few seconds where her and the shark are both underwater just staring at each other.
I had to rewind this scene because I was like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, her and the shark just stare at each other for a good second or two.
Yeah. Before
the shark is finally like, okay, that's enough, and just eats her.
Yes. The shark, this is something I've noticed in this movie, is when the shark eats, when any of the sharks eat, they just go, nom, 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 nom. Like they're eating hamburgers. They're like, nom, 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 nom.
Yeah, and it's funny because she tries to get away, too. And the ladder breaks, which, I mean, like I said earlier, people did not perceive her character well. They wanted her dead.
Yeah.
And she got dead.
She got eated.
But
she gets bitten in half And then she gets the first half eaten first, and then the second half eaten.
Yeah, the shark was like, I'm really not going to leave anything. But as this is happening, Carter sees what's going on and is like, I need to go save her. But he jumps in the water too late, and she's already been eaten.
Yeah.
And then the shark comes after him, and he does that same little cool roll thing and gets onto the shark's fin. And as he's doing this, Preacher gets a hold of the harpoon.
Yeah.
And I don't know when Preacher heard the plan, but he knows what to do.
Yeah, he gets the gist of it. Like,
yeah.
Shoot the shark with the harpoon. And he manages to shoot it in just the right spot to pin our hero to the shark.
And he's like,
this is the clumsiest hero.
He's like, blow it up! Blow it up! He's like all yelling, and he's on the shark's back, like swimming through the water.
Preacher is sitting there looking at it. He's just like, huh? Huh?
And then the shark, like, it hits the gate, and like you just see Thomas Jane's character Carter. He just like gets ripped off the shark, and he
should have lost. He should have lost his leg.
Yeah, at the very least.
The way he gets knocked free, that harpoon would have ripped straight through his leg.
Yeah, but then he they blow up the shark, and it blows up. I mean, that is not two sticks of dynamite.
It's like a miniature nuke.
That is like
creates
4
a
pounds of
mushroom cloud.
C4 at least.
Seriously, it creates a mushroom cloud. A very small one.
Glorious. So, and then freaking Thomas Jane is swimming back to LL Cool J, and he's like, LL Cool J is like, bring me some sushi. And
they're on the little platform, and their next crew just shows up. You see them on the horizon. They're waving their arms like, "The fuck happened?"
My favorite part of like that last scene though is like LL Cool J and Thomas Jane are sitting there, and Thomas Jane's got one of his legs in the water, and LL Cool J is like, "Hey, can I ask you something?" And Thomas Jane's like, "Yeah," and LL Cool J goes, "You sure there was just 3 sharks?" Thomas Jane takes his legs out of the water, and LL Cool J's like, "That's more like it." And then we get the epic song.
Yes, the epic song. My head is like a shark's fin.
Deepest, bluest, my head is like a shark's fin.
I'm pretty sure it's his hat is like a shark's fin.
It does.
Oh god, that fucking song.
It's like cringy but awesome at the same time.
If anyone, because these videos are probably going to come out pretty close to each other because we're doing this for Shark Week. This is the whole point of this. I had virtually nothing to say about the Meg. But I fucking love the hell out of this movie.
This is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yes. I also recognize there are so many things that are bad about it. So our scores are going to be interesting for this movie as far as I'm concerned. So, as always, we are going to score this movie based on 9 separate categories that each can have a score of 1 to 100. And we will start with the plot.
So the plot of this movie is absolutely, or to me at least, because I don't know what your take on it's going to be yet. There's a lot of insane stuff that happens in this plot. That being said, I do think it is insane in a good way, to me at least. There's some dumb stuff that happens, but I can excuse that just because of how much fun this movie is to me. So that being said, I gave the plot an 80.
So this plot to me is a bit crazy. I get it. I get the idea of what they're trying to do. And actually, it has its merits in actual real life science. But it is just kind of insane that the sharks... I've always taken it as the sharks are trying to flood the facility to escape.
I mean, it's a 90s movie.
That is... it is. But this plot is kind of batshit insane. So I gave the plot a 43. Next up is the story structure.
Story, I actually gave it a little bit of a better score than I gave the plot. I have the story sitting at an 82. I mean, like we said, the story is how is the story told. I feel like it was told in a pretty decent manner.
Yeah. It's This is such a 90s movie. It's such
It
a
really
90s movie.
is.
You can see so much influence from the earlier part of the 90s with Jurassic Park.
Yes.
And I couldn't give it any higher than a 50. It is 100% average. I can think of so many things that are good, but also so many things that are bad.
So one of the things I really like about the story, I like that they kind of keep with the theme of people trying to play God. And I know it's been done to death in the 90s, but I really like the way they do it in this movie.
Yeah.
And I really like the way they do it with the lead girl, you know, a narcissist. It's a narcissist because of, you know, the tragedy she's experienced in her life.
Yeah.
I really like how they did that. And that's
Yeah.
why I scored it as high as I did.
Yeah. That's cool. Next up is the characters.
Characters, I mean, like I was saying earlier in the video, the characters here, I feel like they're written very well, especially for a monster movie. And
Yeah.
I did give them a little bit extra props for that, to
Mhm.
making some of these characters, like, you know, you're supposed to dislike the characters that you're supposed to dislike, and, you know, the ones that you do like. I gave characters a 90.
This is a large discrepancy in us. This is why we do this. The two characters that I really adored, three characters that I really adored, were Samuel L. Jackson, our lead lady, and LL Cool J. Those are the three characters that I adored. But every other character in this movie I found nothing. So I ended up giving 10 points for every character that I really liked. So this character's got a 30 from me.
Oh, gosh.
All of that is specifically those three characters. I love those three characters, but they can't raise everyone else up in my mind. Next up is the world building.
Okay, I have no idea, like, what to really say about the world building. I know I like the world that it's set up, and I like Aquatica as a setting.
Yeah.
I gave world building 86.
See, this is where I have to sit here and try and justify my score. I guess I don't have to justify it too much. It's very much a subjective take on it.
I mean, that's the whole scoring system is subjective.
The world building in this movie is it's another batshit insane situation. Like everything it's doing, I get. I guess I'll just have to rip the bandage. I gave world building a 40.
Okay. I mean, and to me, like, it can be batshit insane, but if it makes sense, I'll give it credit.
Yeah.
You know?
The world building in this movie is just it's batshit insane, and I have to recognize that.
Yeah. You know what's going to be fun, though, is whenever we do get to, because Deep Blue Sea has 2 sequels.
I didn't know that until I watched this movie today.
Yes. One was produced by the Asylum, which is the people who do, like, Sharktopus and everything else. So I imagine, and right now, I think currently it's sitting at a less than 10% on Rotten Tomatoes. The original. Or not the original, this part 2. Part 3, honestly, ain't bad. But it was produced by, like, a direct-to-home video. It wasn't the Asylum. Warner Brothers actually bought the rights back.
Yeah.
And they made a part 3. And it's dumb, but it's got its moments that are kind of fun.
Yeah.
And you're going to see that a lot with me, especially as we go through movies like Sharknado. Like, it can be the dumbest, stupidest crap ever. But if they have fun with it...
Next up is the acting.
Like I said, I feel like all the characters are acting pretty decently in this movie. Or at least all the ones that I pay attention to, you know. I mean, there's not really much else I can say. I like Samuel Jackson's delivery of his lines in it.
Yeah.
The girl who plays the narcissist does it very, very well.
Yeah.
Thomas Jane is kind of hit or miss, but that's not him. That's the writing.
Yeah.
So I gave it an 83.
The acting in this movie to me is incredibly stilted. It's like there's a few scenes, even with some of the characters that I really like. Some of the ways that they read their lines, it almost seems like they just literally read it off a script a minute ago. That was the take I had. I absolutely adore Samuel L. Jackson in this movie. And that is where most of the points that I gave this movie come from, is from Samuel L. Jackson. Even LL Cool J, as much as I love his character and the story he goes through, he's very stilted in a lot of his line deliveries. I gave acting a 37. Next up is the special effects.
I will flat out admit I gave this one a higher score than I should have, because the CGI in this movie is not good. It is very, very poor. That being said, comparing it to a lot of the other movies that I had watched around the same time that I watched this movie, it's better than that. But I was watching movies by the Asylum too around the time I watched this. But like I said, the CGI is not good. So, I mean, just based on that alone, I would have given it like a 40 or something, but I didn't. What brings these special effects up for me, and you've heard me say it multiple times, is the puppets.
Yeah.
The puppet sharks make this movie for me as far as the sharks go.
Yeah.
And if the puppet sharks weren't in this, I probably would have given it a really low score, but, I mean, they utilized the puppet sharks very well, in my opinion. That, and I'm kind of biased towards this movie because I love it so much. I gave special effects a 70.
70. That's a respectable score. So I just watched this movie today, the day of recording. There are a lot of things in this movie, CG related, that are awful. I mentioned it earlier. The water. In any of the shots where it just shows like the storm that's happening in the beginning of the movie, it looks like a PS2 cutscene. It is awful. It is terrible. Like there is no sense that it is real water.
Yeah.
The sharks, anytime the CG shark jumps on the screen, it is so jarring to me because as much as I liked it when I was a kid, I recognize such an extreme difference between the puppets and the CGI to the point where I really wish they would have focused more on the puppets.
I do too.
If they had used the puppets a lot more, it would have been so much better. I would have given it a higher score. But all of the points I gave it are specifically for the puppets.
Yeah.
As far as the special effects are concerned, and that got a 25. Music is the one I'm the most interested in in how this is going to score. So next up is the score, or the music.
So for score in this movie,
this is where we had to have a conversation of like, for the music in this, a lot of it I think will have to do with the ending credits scene.
Yeah, the ending credits scene. I think
it's either you have to either give it a massive score because you like how stupid it is, or vice versa.
Y'all know exactly what I did. I don't even have to say it. You know exactly what I did. I gave it a 90. I love it. It's so dumb.
I can absolutely respect that. I had to go in the opposite direction. It's stupid and I love it, but that doesn't make it good. Because besides like the scene where, like we were talking about earlier, the scene where they're trying to get the guy out from the helicopter, and the music is going. It's the same music that they used in the end of the movie.
Yeah,
that music is okay, but it just is nonstop, like
yeah.
in the first scene. But that fucking ending credits song, I had honestly forgotten that song exists until I watched it today.
I'm tempted to put that on my Spotify.
Again. I gave music a 17.
Oh my god!
I can't give that song credit. I recognize that it's stupid. I recognize that it's hilarious. But I can't give it a good score. Next up is the cinematography.
I gave cinematography an 87, and I will not elaborate because I'm not sure why I did that.
That is a completely acceptable answer, actually. There are some times I give scores, I just don't want to elaborate. I'm like, I can't tell you why I gave it the score.
Yeah, honestly, I can't tell you. I scored this movie like 2 months ago, and like I've said, I've seen this movie like hundreds of times. Yeah. It might be because I liked a lot of the shots of Aquatica, and I liked the practical set design and whatnot. Yeah. But, like I said, I don't know. Maybe I was just trying to buff the score, because this is like one of my favorite movies of all time.
It pretty much. You're buffing the score, because...
Yeah.
I went in a very opposite direction. Like I said, okay, so like when the helicopter is coming in to pick up the dude that got his arm bitten off, the shot of the helicopter showing up, it is like in the waves, and I guess if there's a helicopter pilot out there that's listening to this that can tell me that it is normal to fly in between the waves in a hurricane, I will change my score. But until that person tells me and can prove to me that they're a legitimate helicopter pilot that for some reason is listening to us, that kind of stuff doesn't get past me. All the shots of the ocean that looks fucking fake. I gave cinematography a 20.
I kind of figured you would.
The last and the most important score. This is the score that basically is how much do we like this movie as individuals. This is the fun category.
I fucking love this movie. This was, other than Jaws, my favorite movie as a child. And that probably played a lot into how I scored this film. So, that being said, because I like this movie more than Meg. What do you think I gave this movie?
Well, I gave the Meg 100, so.
Yeah, I gave this movie a 65. No, I gave it 100.
I was going to say, you're going to break our rules and give it 101.
169.
So, as much as I've been giving this movie low scores, and how much I recognize how much of this movie is really bad, I too love this movie. This movie I freaking love. It is one of the core. It's like a what the fuck is that Pixar movie with the core memories and the emotions that control the little girl.
I honestly don't remember. I've never seen it.
Well, maybe future me, if I'm editing this, will put the name up so that people can know what I'm talking about. I'm sure everyone knows what I'm talking about. This movie is a core memory for me in movies. So I gave Fun an 85.
Okay.
That is a very high score for me.
Which brings my total score for this film to an 85.33. It actually tied with the Meg, which is weird because I like this movie more than the Meg. But I think what kind of tied them was probably some of the differential scores, like, special effects and stuff. I gave the Meg a substantially higher grade in special effects.
Yeah. So, my final score for this movie, despite the fact that I gave Fun an 85...
23.
It came out to a 38.6. 38.60.
Comes out to a whopping 61.96. While Deep Blue Sea is at 61.96 and is ranked number 9 on the list.
Yeah.
Which is funny because you do not like the Meg at all.
Well, the Meg got higher scores because it's a more modern movie.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
And I'm sure if we kind of take a step back and regraded it based on the time, Deep Blue Sea would probably score a little bit higher.
Yeah, if it was back in '99.
Yeah.
Although technically, you could say if it was back in '99 and you showed someone Deep Blue Sea and then showed someone the Meg would be like the most technologically advanced movie that ever existed.
Right. So, out of the 14 now movies that we've graded, we are the Meg and Deep Blue Sea sit at 8 and 9. I think the ones y'all guys know about are Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and
Guardians 3 should be out.
Guardians 3 will be out by then. And I don't know how many of the Star Wars movies will be out by then. I mean, if you guys can't guess what movie is on our number 1 list, based on the fact that we've reviewed, 7 Star Wars movies by now, then I don't know what to tell y'all. I will say Guardians of the Galaxy is at number 2, the first movie.
Yes. So, any final words on Deep Blue Sea?
If you're into dumb, fun movies like I am, definitely give it a watch.
I would completely agree. It's absolutely a dumb, fun movie. And it's the type of movie that I like in that it takes itself seriously to the point where I feel like the director's not winking at me, asking me if I liked it or not.
Yeah.
It's like, you like that? You like that? You like that? So, remember to like, comment, and subscribe to our Fin Finder.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, have a good night. Bye bye.